We'll go ahead and get started. Once again, please, if you're comfortable sharing your screen, we would love to have you right there with us. So just so that we can say hi and know who we're talking to. It is not required. I do want to mention that we are recording this, not because of anything other than the fact that what we would like to do is have the ability to send it to folks who signed up but weren't able to come this evening. So I hope that still makes everyone comfortable. So allow me to introduce myself and the evening. I'm Mr. Warren to the students who are on the call. Mr. W is a little easier. John Warren for the parents on the call. Nice to have everyone here. We will try to be quick about this. The presentation will go until 7 o'clock. After that, I'll stick around and be happy to answer any questions that you may have. It's getting a little later in the first round admissions decision time, so I do want to encourage everyone, if you haven't gotten all your application materials, you don't have to right away, but I do want to just remind people that our admissions committee will meet something around the 16th of February, and so folders do have to be completed by then. Please, if you have any questions at all, the admissions office is here to help. We are not trying to restrict any applications by any stretch. So please, admissions@columbusacademy.org or call up the admissions office. I won't give you the phone number here. It's easy to find on the web. But I do want to encourage everyone to move with some dispatch just to make sure that all those pieces of the application are in. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that process. So this tonight, of course, is a virtual upper school open house, grades 9 through 12. We would love to be able to host students for their shadow days this year. We would love to be able to be having lots of tours during the school day so that people could be on the ground and see how things go at Columbus Academy. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, it's just not possible this year. So we're trying to do our best to give you a good idea of the school and to make sure that you understand what's important to us. If you have any questions at all as we go along tonight, please put those questions in the chat, and I will be going ahead and answering them or asking the panel to answer them. Let me quickly introduce the panel. First is Ms. Izokaitis. Cory Izokaitis is the head of the upper school. She has 2 children at the school. And Cory, have you been here, what, 8 years?
This is my 9th year.
9th year. So she's the head of the upper school. We have Mr. Dow, Craig Dow is here, who's been here 10,
my 10, yes.
10th year, I was gonna say 9 or 10. Mm-hmm. And Pascal, so Craig Dow is the academic dean in the upper school. He does the schedule and all sorts of things. He's also a math teacher. Dr. Losambe, a little wave there. Pascal Losambe is the dean of students in the upper school. And Pascal, is this your 4th year? 3rd year? 4th year. Okay, I got one of them right. So anyway, our goal tonight is to try to paint a quick picture of the upper school. Again, questions in the chat, drop them in as tonight goes. First, I'd like to share my screen, and I've got a short video that we recorded earlier, and it's just been published. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. I hope I'm going to put this on. There it is.
When I speak with a family about Columbus Academy to give them a bit of context,
thumbs up on the volume.
I often talk about the 6 pillars of the school. I entered in 4th grade at Academy in 1971, so I've been around a while. I've seen the school evolve over that time, so I speak of these pillars in chronological order. The first pillar is unparalleled academics. Since 1911, Academy has done a wonderful job of preparing the students for college and beyond. Our average graduate has taken 4 advanced placement exams with an average score of 4. Our curriculum is advanced and the teachers are adept at differentiated instruction, so we challenge students in healthy ways. Our students enjoy learning and appreciate their faculty as mentors and advisors. Our middle schoolers say how well prepared they are to be upper schoolers, and then, after matriculating to college, our graduates routinely report their preparation for college was terrific. The next pillar is athletics. Of course, participating in sports is not required, but the philosophy of healthy mind and healthy body has been an important part of the Academy since its founding. We have a tradition of strong athletics here. Interscholastic sports begin in 6th grade, and about 80% of our students participate in at least one sport each year. Beyond being fun, being on a team reinforces the value of collaboration, communication, hard work, and delayed gratification. All important 21st century soft skills that students need to be successful. The third pillar is the arts. Both fine and performing arts are vibrant and key pieces of an Academy student's life. The middle school curriculum offers fine arts and creative expressions, which is a drama class, every single year. 6th graders are required to take concert band, choir, or orchestra. Of course, those opportunities continue into the upper school where our band, orchestra, plays, and choir wow audiences and win accolades for their performances. The fine arts offerings are more varied in the upper school where ceramics, photography, painting, and drawing are our most popular electives. The incredible artwork they create is exhibited regularly in the gallery. The fourth pillar is community service, which has grown in importance and vibrancy, particularly in the last 30 years. Academy actually has a service department. Like there's a math department and an English department. Our service department works to ensure that the school's commitment to serve others runs throughout our curriculum beginning in the lower school and is coordinated through until graduation. It's worth mentioning that each year the Upper School Service Board is the largest club on campus. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is the fifth pillar. Academy was one of the first schools to hire a full-time director of diversity, and our commitment to working to be an inclusive community is strong. A quarter of Academy students receive tuition assistance. Our families come from all over Central Ohio, from all sorts of backgrounds. Indeed, 40% of our students identify as students of color. Academy truly strives to be a rich community of diverse learners. Finally, the last pillar is our commitment to building ethical students of strong character. For over 100 years, Academy has been instilling our foundational 5+2 values in our students. Those values are respect, responsibility, honesty, compassion, fairness, moral courage, and integrity. We believe that without a foundation of ethical behavior, even the greatest accomplishments are hollow. Finally, I think it's important to mention what Academy is not. If people know about our school, they assume that since it's filled with high achievers, it must be a pressure cooker school filled with stressed out, hyper-competitive, unfriendly children who are exhausted. That's simply not the case. When you tour our facilities and see our students in action, you see happy, interested, and interesting youngsters. They enjoy their time here at Academy. It's truly a wonderfully warm and nurturing environment. We hope you'll come and take a closer look.
All right, you guys are among the first people to ever see that. That was kind of my screen debut. Woohoo! In any case, once again, just a reminder, if you're comfortable, please turn on your screen. We'd love to see you. We have 24 participants. This is being recorded, and again, it's not going to go up on the web or anything like that. This is just going to be used to send to people who didn't get a chance to make it. And finally, put any questions that you have into the chat. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand the baton off to Cory Izokaitis. Ms. Izokaitis, once again, is the head of the upper school. So, Cory.
Thank you, John, or Mr. I've never called you Mr. W, but I'll call you Mr. Warren sometimes.
Okay.
You know, I have to say I enjoyed the video, but what makes me sad is I miss all the faces right now. It's so nice to see, you know, the actual full face of our kids. I miss it so much, even though we are so grateful to be in school right now. We're all masked up and we're doing our thing, but boy, it warms my heart to see them together and close and smiling. But we will get there, right? Time is coming. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on what is this, a Tuesday night during your dinner hour, probably. It is great to talk to you. And I have with me two amazing people who are going to help me fill out our talk tonight. And as Mr. Warren said, Mr. Dow and Dr. Losambe. So I'm going to talk a little bit, and then they're each going to share a little bit from the area of school that they spend the greatest amount of time in. And then we want to open it up to questions, maybe about things we didn't talk about or about things that we did. So have your thinking caps on, and here we go. So one of the things I'd like to tell families is that I feel like when students come to us, especially in the upper school, because you're in the older tier, you're often looking for that something extra, something about something in your next school that maybe you're yearning to have. It may be a little more in the way of challenging academics or some different class offerings. It could be the chance to really get to know your teachers and be in a small class. You've heard about that in Academy. It could be, greater opportunity along with classes to maybe join a team or be in a play or a musical or something like that, that maybe you wouldn't have gotten a chance otherwise in a really big school. It may be also that you're looking towards your college career and thinking, I would like to work with a college counseling office that is going to get to know me, and they're going to help me find a school that's a good fit for me, right? Because that's what's really important. And I think that's true over the years as I've seen kids come in. You and your family are looking for something. I can tell you that when students join us, they're often a little surprised also about how much we expect from them. And I don't mean that in like the amount or pile of work so much as it is about engagement and being in and a part of our community. It's about thinking deeper and broadly about things in ways maybe you haven't been asked to do so before. It's about considering the perspective of others. We often want our students to think about things from another angle other than their own. And certainly, as Mr. Warren said, our character, that gets wrapped into our everyday life in so many ways. That it's hard not to think about what is the person I'm growing into, who am I, and how am I going to leave Academy with a nicer mark about, how I've grown. And I will say that there's no back row. You think about classrooms, and I say it physically and also sort of in a literal way and in a figurative way. There's no back row. It's hard to get lost in an Academy class. That's because our teachers get to know you. They're smaller, and there's such a way that we want to reach out and pull you into conversations and projects and all the work that we're doing. It's hard to hide. So don't think that you're going to get lost. Okay. They do want to know you. And over the course of your time in Academy, I think we're hoping that, upper school is a time to have fun. You may be entering, if you're coming in ninth grade, we think of you as sort of a very, an old middle schooler, but then by the time you end your ninth grade year, you're working on up into bigger classes and into harder things and more advanced things. But we are working with you developmentally to still have fun in high school, to grow with your peers, to figure out, who you are. We want you to be resourceful. We want you to learn how to be your own advocate. One of the things that I love to hear is when graduates come back to visit, or sorry, alums come back to visit, and they come in around, Thanksgiving or winter break, and they do the tour and talk to their teachers. We ask them, how's it going? And they say, pretty well. Now, they may not like their roommate, but that's beside the point. But when you say about classes, how's it going? And they say really well. My roommate doesn't know how to study as well as I do. Or they say, I'm able to write these papers and these essays that are assigned to me, but some of the kids in my class are really struggling. And they say, I know how to go ask my professor for help. I know how to go to office hours. And we're like, that's really great. That's one of the things that we're always hoping that our students walk away with, that they're resourceful, they can be their own advocates, and that they can become a citizen in their next school, just like we groom them to be a really good citizen in Columbus Academy. When I mentioned that we like to have fun, I'm going to mention that over winter break, how many of you watched the Great British Bake Off ever? Anybody? Any hands in there? No British Bake Off fans? Any cooking shows whatsoever? Well, in this pandemic, there's one. I see you, Sydney. In this pandemic, it's been hard, right? And our kids can't get together the way they like to play. But I wanted to share that even in the hardest of times, upper school and our student council figured out ways to do something fun, and they offered a baking challenge, and they had kids submit things, video and pictures from their kitchen, and had a competition. I will say it was pretty sweet, no pun intended. So you got that one. We just had a fall play recently. The Glass Menagerie was performed by our upper school. So our arts department is still doing its best to keep things rolling in tough times. And the kids did a great job of 3 nights of performances. We have active clubs and affinity groups for our students. The list ranges from things, we have our arts groups, we have our language-based groups, we have groups that take trips in springtime when travel is doable. Our affinity groups, our boss group, our China Club, our Desi and Mecca groups. You'll hear more about them if you get to see us a little bit more. Our student community service group, as Mr. Warren said, had people in yesterday during MLK Day. Project Linus, they were working on blankets, socially distanced, of course, but they were still active. They did bread baking for some of the local food pantries. So I guess I wanted to just give you some examples. We are busy and we are still at it. We're happy to have kids in school with us right now. It's a great place. I gush about it a little bit, both as a parent as about somebody who works there. But we love to get our new students in and show off our stuff. And we can't wait to hopefully have you in our door to show you a little bit more. I will wait and answer questions later, but I want to hand it off to Mr. Dow, who's going to talk a little bit about our academic program and our departments and some of our graduation requirements. And then we're going to hand it to Dr. Losambe to talk a little about student life.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be able to meet with you. And I just kind of wanted to start off this evening by kind of stepping back to March. And if you remember the time that you were in your classes in the fourth quarter of the year and everything had changed. We were online and I think most schools were completely online during that time. And so we were all adjusting to how to teach online and learn online and thinking about all those adjustments that we made. And one of the things that helped us navigate those waters were relationships. Think about the first 3 quarters of the year. You knew the people in your classes, you knew your teachers. And so that was kind of like a starting point from which, okay, you know what, I understand how to work with one another. Zoom is a little awkward, but we can manage this somehow. And then as we kind of moved into the first semester of this year, the challenge then became, how do we begin a year with new mix? You might know, some of your classmates or whatever, but there are going to be different combinations in different classes, or it might be a new teacher that you've never had before. And it's beginning with those relationships. And I think one of the things that I look back at our first semester and, one of the things that I'm really appreciative of all the efforts that our administration, faculty and students and parents all work together is to be really thoughtful about planning of how can we make the campus environment as safe as possible for everyone, to be able to, introduce, we had half of a grade level come in each day and do an orientation. So it felt like, in terms of conversations, we had the same presentation 8 times over. It was amazing. But anyway, when we started into the year though, then we were like, okay, then we're at a quarter of the student body, a quarter of every, all the grades. And then we moved to 50%. And it was so exciting that we got into like the middle of fall and we were inviting everyone to come back to the campus, and we were transitioning outside and we were, moving people around on campus in different ways, but we were finding ways to make it safe. And, that was one of those things that just like, even though I was looking out over, all the different grassy fields that we had, grade 9 here, grade 10 here. And it was like, everyone had a chance to be together. We were 6 foot distancing and tried to kind of be able to have conversations in masks and people showing things on phones in awkward ways. But it was like people were able to be together. And I could see how everyone was thriving in a new way that we just didn't have in the fourth quarter. And over time we had to kind of move back to 50%. And so, we've had to make adjustments. And that's the thing about, the way our school works is that we're really been responsive to the situation that we have to definitely navigate to make sure everybody stays safe. But we're also navigating other priorities of thinking about students' wellness as a person, to be able to interact with other people that are around you. And I think that that's, that combination that allows you to thrive. And we've had some families that have stayed completely online as well, for a variety of reasons in order to keep their family members safe. And we've navigated all the different parts of school, including midterm exams. So we did that in a hybrid way as well. And I know sometimes if I gave a poll and asked students, do you want midterm exams? Sign me up, please. That's probably not what's going to happen. But it's a muscle that our students have been able to work, that level of preparation to get ready for something and be able to kind of get ready for game day, that some other students in other schools might not have had the same opportunity, because in preparation, we're a college preparatory school, and so just to be able to have those skills refined to a greater degree is going to serve everybody well in the long run. We strive to kind of find that right balance for each student. You're stretching for personal growth, you're taking on different types of challenging courses as it is appropriate in your learning. But there's also that support along the way to help you flourish and also navigate challenging times. We know, like high school, there are 4 years that are in there. Not every day is going to be peachy. And so sometimes it might be that you're not necessarily going to be at your best. And sometimes you might need to lean on someone, whether it be a friend, a classmate, a teacher, administrator. That we're a school community that really helps us through those challenging times. And Mrs. Izokaitis kind of spoke about kind of those courageous conversations that students develop over the time that they have here. And even though they're borderline awkward at first, sometimes when I work with my freshmen to begin with, it's just kind of like, walking in the door is kind of a big thing. Over the course of these 4 years, you'll get the chance to be able to kind of interact with people in different ways so that you have that sense of advocacy. You have the confidence to go to a college professor and say, I have this question. And by the way, I'm really interested in your field, and I'll be your intern in 3 or 4 years down the road. I mean, it's like something that you would have, the confidence to be able to walk into a new situation and be able to navigate those waters more effectively. In terms of academics, our schedule allows us to be able to have our 5 courses. That's the 5 core courses like English, history, world language, math, and science. In addition, you can also add up to 2 full credits of electives. And this has been a great combination. In the last 5 years or so, we've had students that are taking concert band and honors computer science 1 in the same year, in addition to those 5 classes. You might take camerata or choir, and then also get involved in 2 different types of art courses. So you could be, throwing a pot in 1 minute and then drawing 2D art in another. There are just so many different possibilities and combinations you could put together. And I'm the scheduler, and I've put together a bajillion of different ones, maybe not that many, but it's pretty close to that. Also, just thinking about, kind of things that we do usually with morning check-in. You come into school, but right before 8 o'clock, usually between 7:30 and 8 is when people arrive. And in other times, we would begin the day with a handshake. And that is something we've had to kind of take out under the circumstances. But usually over the course of 4 years, you have a good morning, you shake someone's hand, and they're checking you in for attendance for the day. And by kind of going through that process, you'll have nearly 1,000 handshakes that you will have done by the time you graduate. And so think about kind of like that time of like you're walking into an interview. I've done this before. That those are the things that kind of the intangibles that kind of help you become a more confident citizen in the world around you. Just to delve into a couple things about classes, in the English department, every student takes English 9 as a starting point, and then there are other opportunities for learning beyond that. One highlight for the department is that when you get to your junior and senior year, there are teachers that offer specific themes of courses, both at the standard level and then at the honors level, which gets ready for the AP exams. And it's really around a certain theme. And so what you have a chance to do is to rank the themes that are for the level that you want to take English at standard or honors. And then you get placed in those classes based on the rest of your schedule. So it's kind of more by student preference. What you're interested in reading about are the things you're going to be writing about, that a lot of times that's kind of going to be more an interesting English course for you overall. So that's something to look forward to in the latter half of your high school career. In the history, students take 2 years of world history, 1 year of US history, and then there is a smattering of a number of electives that you could take in your junior and senior years. And so that's an exciting number of opportunities, whether that be philosophical ethics and justice, economics, international studies, or just to name a few. In mathematics, that's near and dear to my heart. I teach one section of pre-calculus this year. And we have courses offered anywhere from beginning of like our integrated algebra course all the way up to multivariable calculus. And so where your math is at, we will have an entry point that will be a right fit for you. And so usually when students come new to campus, we get information from your current teacher and learn about the courses that you've taken so far, and also have you take a placement test just so that we find that right course for you in the next step in your math learning. And then from there, you have opportunities endless in terms of mathematics. Also in the science department, freshmen take biology, and then sophomores chemistry, and then in your junior year you have physics, and then there are a number of different electives including environmental science, evolutionary biology, AP courses in chemistry, physics, and in biology, and they're both offered at the advanced and standard level in 9th, 10th, and 11th. So if you have an interest in the sciences, you have plenty of opportunity there. In our languages, we offer Chinese, Spanish, and Latin. We have a couple of students, because of our schedule, instead of incorporating an arts course, they've doubled up in languages. That's a unique option. So that's something that if you have an interest in doing, that's something that would be possible as well. But through our language classes, students get ready for the AP exam in their last year, usually in preparation for if they're interested in taking an AP language. Also, there are frequent international trips, maybe not this year, but in sometime during your career, we're hopeful that we'll be able to get back. I had a chance to travel with students to China, which was an amazing experience, just to see our students walk up in a monastery to be able to talk with some monks in Mandarin. That it's just like such a unique experience that they had the gumption to kind of go out and meet somebody and then just use their language. Those are the reasons why we learn in so many different ways. And then, as I mentioned, with the arts, for fine arts, we have drawing and painting, ceramics and sculpture, photography, graphic design, lots of portfolio classes. If you want to stick with fine arts right through your senior year, which many students do, there's a senior art show that you prepare for. So we get to celebrate the work that you have accomplished and your growth during your time. In the performing arts, we have concert band, jazz band that meets before school. We have orchestra, also our choirs, Camerata and Viking Choir, and then music theory as well. And other opportunities that happen. One of the things that I really love is Arts Mania, which happens every other year. Our fine and performing arts invite artists, usually about 30 of them from the outside community, that kind of get to introduce students to a number of different types of art. So whether that be yoga or doing art with string or paper cutting or using a chainsaw on an ice sculpture. So, variety of different things, just to throw a couple things out there. So, it's one of those days that every other year we get to kind of explore the arts. So we take time from our academic schedule. One other thing I just also wanted to mention, we also have health and freshman research in 9th grade. We have an ethics and character course in 10th as a graduation requirement. In your 11th grade year, you're going to be giving a junior speech, which is a topic of your choice for about 5 to 7 minutes, and you give it to the entire student body. That is one of our graduation requirements. Now, that might seem daunting at first, but you will hear about 200 speeches in your first 2 years of high school before you ever have to even begin the writing process for your own. And so usually through that process, and you kind of think on your life and your experiences, that you are prepared for it. And our English department chair, who also guides students through a 5-week process of taking a draft and kind of refining it and finding their voice in that, and then presenting it and practicing it in the theater. You go through that whole process. That it's such a great learning experience that every student comes through with flying colors, and you will have 2 years of experiences to realize that that's the case. And so don't be daunted by that. Also, in terms of like connections with college counseling, I know that that's one question that sometimes comes up. Usually during in your 10th grade year is the first time that you have in the spring an appointment with a college counselor, just to kind of take a look at your story of your first couple years of high school, kind of thinking about the planning for your standardized tests that usually take place in your junior year. And then also kind of just looking at the planning for the year ahead. In your junior year, you actually have a class with college counseling in the 3rd quarter of the year. So right after the winter break, right about now, all of our juniors are working with their college counselors, and they're starting to kind of like, here's the big picture of the process. So you don't really kind of need to get into the college counseling process before taking that class. And then as you kind of go into the summer, that's when you kind of start thinking about the college essays. And so our college counselors intensively work with our seniors through the first semester, kind of getting all the applications in and kind of working through that entire process. And so, you are in really good hands. All of our students go off to a college that is a good fit for them. And that's the thing to emphasize, is that as you're growing as a person and what is a good match for you, to kind of embrace that part of the process. And they are great people to work with as you go through that. So those are a couple of things that I just wanted to mention about academics, and I'd like to pass it off to Dr. Losambe.
Hello all. Thank you, Mr. Izokaitis. Thank you, Mr. Dow. Thank you, Mr. Warren as well. What a pleasure, what an honor to see you all and share this space with you. I'm very excited to represent the upper school and indeed our students' office. It's an amazing experience when we see students come in the 9th grade and with all your gifts and talents and be able to contribute to our community and really start to thrive and really explore and take steps to become who you hope to become in the future. The upper school is a remarkable place for you to use your gifts, for you to use your talents, for you to really form lasting bonds and relationships. Anytime I enter a community, I always have one question, and I hope that you ask this question of us. What grounds us? What is our foundation? What is deep under the soil that holds us? What is our root? And we are tethered, we are anchored by our core values. And the core values that we hope and we strive to live by every day are respect, responsibility, compassion, honesty, fairness, integrity, and moral courage. And these things, these real pillars are the lenses through which we view our upper school experience. And so in anything, you need to always ask yourself the question, how am I exemplifying and living out these core values? In the upper school, we are about 430 students strong, or even more than that, I think, at this point. But it's important for us to have a smaller community within the larger community as well. And so just as Ms. Izokaitis and Mr. Dow pointed out, you are placed in an advisory that you will stick with for all 4 years. And the goal there is for you to form some bonds with peers right off the bat, and also form a relationship with an adult and adults in the community so that they can really learn from you and learn with you and really advocate for you in places where you may need an adult to be present on your behalf. And so you don't just have to hear it from me. I would like to share my screen and play a little video of the advisory program through the eyes and through the voices of our current students. So please hold on for 1 second. All right, here we go.
Advisory brings us together like a family.
Advisory is a good place for us to come and just hang out.
Advisory creates strong bonds with both our peers and faculty. You are in the same advisory from freshman year to when you graduate. So when you get assigned that advisory, it's kind of like you're assigned family for the next couple of years, and you definitely get a stronger sense of like friendship with the people in your advisory.
Awesome. So advisory presents an ability for you to form strong bonds and really be together in collaboration with your peers. Another hallmark of the upper school experience is just a sense of community you have. We have a bunch of clubs that you can join to really, foster a sense of leadership and connection, especially in your areas of passion. We are a community, and that means that we support each other, not only in academics, but also in other aspects of school life. With the pandemic, it slowed our participation in sports and extracurriculars, but those have still kept on going, which is we're really lucky to have a school where that keeps on going. But just to get a feel for the upper school community, you might be asking, man, what is this word community? What is he talking about? And you don't have to hear it just from me, but through the eyes and the voices of our students. So here's the second one, video.
And especially coming in and like playing sports as a freshman, I was obviously scary, but as you go through the season, you make friends with them, and like I'm still friends with some of the seniors from last year today. We're both very close to Dr. Losambe. Yes. Yeah, he was our freshman year biology teacher, and we were his first class that he taught, and we have a pretty good bond, and we're both like really thankful for this.
Yeah. I think without being in that class, I wouldn't have reached out to him in the way I have now. And sometimes I just like do homework in his office, and he's not even there. He's like, "I'm open for you, like come in." And he's just like so sweet, so welcoming, so warm.
What it really does for us, and like how it helps connect us to our community, is it sort of anchors us to the younger students, so we can like reflect on how our schooling has sort of come as an accumulation of just all these years of study to being seniors now. We get to sort of look back on where we were at the beginning and sort of help younger kids just get introduced to school themselves.
Typically, we're pretty much trapped in the other wing of the school. We don't have that interaction. So getting to cross those borders and see those kids and make them smile, make us smile too, is so amazing.
That was obviously pre-COVID, just before COVID hit. But being in the upper school, we carry a responsibility to each other. By submitting your application and hopefully signing on the dotted line, you are committing to each other and to our community as well. And that means also investing in younger students who are on our campus as well, and really taking responsibility in being a good role model and a leader for them as they are looking to you to get their cues about the future. And the last video I'd love to share with you is we have affinity groups, various identity-based groups that are really important in fostering a sense of connection, where you're able to process things with people who share an identity that you do, and to process things in a way that you can kind of feel as though you have support from a community of people who understand some of your experiences, who understand some of what you have, some of the ways you look at the world as well. And again, you don't have to listen through my voice, but here's the voice of some students and that you can learn from with regard to affinity groups.
I help run the MECA affinity group, which is the affinity group for Muslim students. In general, affinity groups play a pretty important part at Academy, because Academy does have a diverse student population, but for a lot of kids, I think the majority of the time they spend at school, they spend with kids who don't necessarily have like the same like racial or like religious preferences. And so it's nice to kind of just, I think, get together with people you have that in common with.
Well, I'm involved in BOSS, which is the Black Organization of Students here at Academy, and immediately I just felt the impact of what being an affinity group was for and the purpose of it. And it was really impactful for me because as an African American student, there aren't a lot of us here, unfortunately. And, it really helped me to be in that and have mentors who looked like me in the upper school.
So our upper school affinity groups provide an incredible opportunity for us to really allow for safer spaces for students who share different identities. And I lied to you a little bit. I have one more video to show you before I turn it over for questions. Is we have a tremendous platform called a community cafe. And a community cafe is a platform we use for students to engage in discussions, in dialogues around what is going on in our society, what is on the minds of youth today, the narratives that might come in to our school from outside. It's important for us to process that. Tomorrow we have a community cafe around the inauguration, and our politics club is hosting that and giving space for students to kind of ask about some of the core concepts around the inauguration and really process what they may see on TV tomorrow as well. So that provides an incredible platform for students to really share and bring their voice. So one more video, bear with me. And here is here is a video on community cafes. If I can find it, there we go, I got it.
Have these these leadership lunches or these community cafes during lunch. So I really think that it's like a really impactful experience for anyone who does decide to come. For example, when we had Talben Shahar, one of our speakers, come in to talk to the whole upper school, he had an amazing speech for us, and we got to hear him present, and that was amazing. And directly after, we had a community cafe about what he talked about and how we felt about it. There are so many students who whenever they have time, they try to show up, because the students at Columbus Academy, they really care about these kind of things, and they make time to do things outside of what they're required to do. And so because of that, you get you get the chance to interact with students that sometimes you're not able to interact with.
So the upper school is a tremendous experience. We are extremely lucky to have the resources we have. And I'm so thrilled that you've taken time out of your schedule and day to be with us today. So thank you for being here.
While I wait for questions, thank you very much, Dr. Losambe, Mr. Dow, Ms. Izokaitis. Thanks so much for all that. I hope that does trigger some thoughts in everyone's head about questions to ask. No one's asked well, one person asked a question in the chat. I tried to type the answer in. I hope that makes sense. Please, Ms. Hahn, if you need more info, don't hesitate to ask. But I would like the upper school folks to talk a little bit about transition. As the director of admissions, I can say that it is one of the most common questions that I'm asked is, hey, I'm at my old school. I know I've got friends there. Tell me, I mean, you've painted a picture that looks like pretty friendly folks, but how does it look in terms of transition? For a new 9th grader or a new 10th grader, how does that look? We've even got one student on the Zoom that's going to be an 11th grader. So could you talk about that, please?
Sure. I'm going to jump in first, and then I will pass it off to my esteemed colleagues who are also a part of this process. When we onboard new students, we recognize that it simply isn't having you walk in on the first day of school and feel like you know where to go and what to do. It actually begins once you've been accepted, and we start working with you in the spring on building a schedule. And Mr. Dow and I, and more Mr. Dow, but we both get involved in building that for you and tailoring things to where you are. Come August, as we get closer to school starting, our sports season start, if any of you are athletes, August 1 usually is when teams get to start practicing. So there's an unofficial start there for you to get to know peers on the athletic fields, if that's something that you are a part of and like to do. And then as we get a little closer, we host new student orientation, where we invite new students to join us, along with some students who have been in your very shoes, to talk about what it's like to join school, to talk about some of the ways in which we talk about. So there's always a vernacular in a school and vocabulary that some kids are like, well, what are you talking about? Well, we need to help teach you that, right? So we walk through sort of what the school day is like, and we have students helping you and pairing up with you to help you along the way on those orientation days. And it's not, don't think of it as all sitting and just listening. We do, Dr. Losambe will talk to you about some of the fun things that they do. But we try very hard to sort of give you a nice on-ramp into school and to give you student resources, kids who have been in your shoes or who are maybe just a year older, who know what it's like to be people for you to go to and ask questions. I think they give you sort of the inside scoop on how to do it, where to find some answers, and hopefully are very helpful to you. My friends in the other squares on the screen, chime in.
Yes, in addition, our student council hosts what they call the Week of Welcome. And so this is a student-led initiative where our student council representatives host events for each grade for you to come and meet people, to be surrounded by people, to have fun with games and different activities as well, so that when you walk in on the first day, you have some familiar faces. Mrs. Izokaitis talked about the new student orientation. Even in the midst of a pandemic, we hosted both in-person and virtual new student orientations, and Mr. Dow alluded to that earlier, where we had little groups of people with our student orientation leaders really leading us through activities. We do a lot of games. You hear from our students as to what to expect academically, what our cultural expectations are, what some good norms and behaviors to position you for success are. And those are kind of, we give them freedom to really share authentically how that experience is going to be. So those are some hallmarks of that program.
And I would add that as soon as you're oriented into the school year, that it doesn't stop there. Sometimes you're just like, okay, here you go this direction, and you start walking, and then, some things are challenging. Technology is one of the things that come to mind when, we're mostly Apple products at our school. Every student gets a school issued iPad. Technology fails me as a teacher on a regular basis, and students as well. So there's sometimes just like, how do I do this? How do I do, write a notability? What's going on with my Apple Pencil right now? I mean, there are a number of different things that can be something to navigate. And, we have, whether it be your teachers in your classrooms, classmates that are beside you, we also, with our advisory program, you have checkpoints with your advisor on a regular basis. So I've been working with some of my freshman advisees on some iPad things, to get the year started. And so it's just, navigating all those waters, it's like living life together. And the more at ease you become with just, I've got this challenge right here. How do I frame it? Go talk to somebody that I trust and get the ball rolling. If they can't answer the question, they're going to walk you down the hallway and like, here's our tech department. Work your magic, please. That they'll be able to support you as you go through the year.
Right. And the last thing I would mention is the faculty are very tuned in to the new students, particularly. Everyone's a new, all the freshman classes is new to high school, but the faculty do a great job of trying to make sure and pay special attention to those new students. In English, if you haven't done quite as much writing as the students who are rising from our own 8th grade, or if in math, there's some concept that you haven't seen. We hope that you're going to be a self-agent and make sure that you're saying, hey, I can I come see you for some extra help or something like that. But the teachers are really going to be watching out, particularly at the very, for the first 9 weeks, the first semester. They really will be watching you closely. I got a great,
because when we look at today I met with 2 of my pre-calculus students, and one of them was me reaching out to them to say, like, I think you might want to meet with me so that we can get, have a stronger sense of the understanding of the concepts. And another student reached out to me, and we coordinated appointments around lunchtime during freeze in the schedule. And so students know that they can advocate. And so we just want to encourage that.